Hello there, and welcome to the Dear Dyslexic podcast series, brought to you by Rethink Dyslexia, the podcast where we're breaking barriers and doing things differently. I'm Shay Wissell, your host, and I'm so glad you can join us. I'm a fellow neurodivergent, and I'm coming from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, where I live and work. And I would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to all the tribes across our beautiful country and to all First Nations people listening today. Our podcast was born in 2017 out of a need to give a voice to the stories and perspectives of adults with dyslexia. And our voice has grown stronger year after year. We're now a globally listened to podcast with guests from all around the world. Join us for insightful conversations about living with dyslexia and other neurodivergences across all walks of life. Our special focus is on adult education, employment, social and emotional wellbeing, and entrepreneurship. We're excited to be bringing you this episode and invite you to like and follow us, or even better, why not leave us a review on your favourite podcast platform. So let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our latest episode of the Dear Dyslexic podcast show. I'm so excited. I know I always use this word, thrilled, honoured, privileged. There's multiple descriptive words I'm going to use today to share my excitement about talking to this guest, who is Saraya from Hotel Etico. And we have been looking at we are developing a partnership around how we can work together to support neurodivergent young people that are in the hospitality industry. And so we've just set up this exciting partnership. And today we are going to be having a vulnerable conversation about dyslexia and ADHD. So thank you, Saraya, for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's an absolute privilege. You do lead the space in dyslexia, so I'm super excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Where do we start?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's just so much. I mean, I guess I could start with what I do. So you mentioned Hotel Etico. So we are the first not-for-profit social enterprise hotel in Australia, and we train and employ young people with a disability in the hospitality space. There's a great place to start, pretty much.
So tell us a little bit more about that, because you are situated in the beautiful Blue Mountains in New South Wales.
Yes, we are. I'm in our library currently. It's quite cold up here. I'm not even joking. Like, I have a blanket on my lap, which you can't see on the camera, so I just shamed myself. But so we train and employ young people with disabilities. We train them, one, in employment skills. They live on site for a year, so we train them in independent living skills as well. It's a 1-year program. 18 to 35-year-old adults with a disability. So it's a very complex model, what we do. It's never been done before in Australia. So our trainees work front and centre in our business. We are a fully functioning hotel. We have 15 rooms. You can book and stay. I know you're going to book and stay. I'm waiting.
Yes, I can't wait.
But yes, so they, work in the restaurant. They're trained in the restaurant. They're trained behind the bar. They work in housekeeping, reception and the kitchen. And then they live in what we call the Academy of Independence, where they learn that independence within all aspects of their daily living. So it can be cooking, cleaning, budgeting. We do workshops on how to read your contracts, all of these sort of things. All of the things that you really take for granted, we teach. And it's a really integrated place because they're working alongside hospitality professionals to learn those skills, and they're paid full award wage from day one. And then after that first year, we then work with them in external open employment within our industry partners we have within the sector. So we're a pathway to that independence where we really teach those life skills.
It's such a fascinating initiative, and I think some of those life skills are just missing as young people transition out of school into adulthood to begin with.
For sure. I remember when I left school quite young, and I moved to Sydney at quite a young age. And, when you're 15, you think you know everything. You really don't. Things like taxes, like how to pay taxes. Even, I really struggle with forms, but how to complete a tax file number form declaration. Like all of these things that people take for granted, we teach that.
It's funny you say the tax form, because I always tick the box that I'm not a resident. I always get that question confused as to the way it's worded. Are you an Australian resident for tax purposes? And I always get that. I always tick it wrong.
I really struggle with forms in general. Like, I mean, I just completed my daughter's high school enrollment forms and application form and everything, and that took me so long. I had to print 4 copies because I kept making mistakes. I just really struggled. And the tax file declaration, I don't think it's changed in ever, to be honest. It's horrible.
It is horrible. And I've had a lot of jobs, so I should know by now which one to tick, but I always get it wrong. I just do the opposite of what I usually do. But forms are really hard.
Yeah, forms are really, really hard. But I remember ticking the tax-free threshold wrong quite a few times in current employers and then being really, really highly taxed. And I was like, why am I paying so much tax? And yeah, I did the form wrong. What do you know?
Very common error for us dyslexics. And I think, the MyGov, like there's so many barriers to how we transition out of school into the workplace and all the different systems and processes we need to be able to do. It's so frustrating. MyGov is a good example of frustration.
MyGov is horrible, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. Good segue into dyslexia there. I like it.
It is a good segue. Smooth. Well, actually, because we'll come back to your work, but what made you move to Sydney at 15?
I thought I knew best. I came down to live with my dad. My dad ended up moving back 6 months later to look after somebody that he knew in Queensland that had a disability. And I just thought I knew better. So I stayed and I rented. I got a job and I just stayed. I'm a very determined person. So when I say I'm going to do something, I generally do it. And I think I just wanted to prove everybody wrong that I could live on my own at 15. And I did. And I paid rent on time. I had 2 jobs, sometimes 3. It was hard, but I mean, I've never looked back. I think I learnt a lot of life skills very early on. Rent, electricity, cooking was not my finest. But I think I had something to prove, whether it was to prove to myself or to prove to my family that I could do it. So I did. And I have been living in Sydney ever since. So I was 15 and I'm 35 in a couple of months. So I've now lived in Sydney longer than I have in Queensland.
And so what was the turning point why did you leave school at 15?
Oh, I was never really good in school. School to me, well, I guess this is a good segue into it. So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 15. I left school at 15. Nobody had actually picked up on it until one English teacher picked up on it. So for me, school wasn't enjoyable and I'm very much a practical learner, so I just wanted to get out and into the workplace. I think they changed leaving school at 15 a few years after I left, unless you have an apprenticeship, but at that time I was allowed to leave and go into whatever job I wanted. It just wasn't for me. Sitting in a classroom wasn't for me. I was never any good at English. I was never any good at school, but I'm much better on the job, so I just thought, it's just not for me. I've always regretted leaving school. I always wish I went to year 12. That's a really big regret for me. And I always wanted to go to university and I always thought, you know what, I'll go back to it. But I never did. So maybe in the future.
It's never too late to go back to uni.
It is never too late, but it's also, I've been looking at it a lot more over the last year, but it's what you can take on. I mean, I'm a mother, I work full time, I'm general manager of a not-for-profit organisation that's also a hotel. It's about how much I can commit to, and university I think is a big commitment that I would have to really think about.
It is a big commitment, and I think because I've been studying for 20 years, well, I've just finished really since I finished my doctorate and I keep looking at courses to go back to, but no, I need to have a break. But it's interesting you say we should finish year 12 because when I was in year 10 I wanted to leave. I wanted to be a chef. So I spent my whole secondary school cooking and I didn't care about grades. I wasn't good at school, but my coordinator at the time sat me down and they said, really think you should just try and stick it out. So if it wasn't for that conversation, I would have left.
Yeah, I think, like you said at the start of the episode, we're going to be very vulnerable here. I didn't have anybody to do that for me. I've never really had any advocates to advocate for me. Again, like I said, I had one teacher that believed in me and that was my year 10 English teacher. But I've had nobody's ever really said that I've always just been told what I can't do. I've never been told what I can do. And I've never really had anybody to have those tough conversations with me and say, you'll regret this later. I really wish I did have somebody in my corner at such a young age, but it just wasn't the way I was raised.
Yet you are so successful.
I'm determined. Thank you. That means a lot. It's been a really tough journey to get where I am. But yeah, I have some really strong friendships and relationships. I'm very close with my siblings and they're always pushing me to be better. But yeah, I've never really had anybody in my corner to go, you know what, you can do it. So tough, but I think it just made me even more determined.
And so what was it like at 15 becoming so independent in the workplace? What was really helpful for you and what was hard, apart from life being hard? Were there any specifics of becoming a grown-up so quickly?
I think going to the workplace, I've always had a very strong work ethic. That is something my mother taught me. She was a single mother of 3. So she was always at work. She's always had a very, very, very strong work ethic. So I've always known that work is something that is really ingrained into me. So I went into hospitality. I was a restaurant manager by the age of, I think, 16 or 17. And I had other jobs in Woolworths and customer service and Caltex. And I went into disabilities when I was 19. Learning in the workplace was more about, I think it was more about the behind the scenes. I mean, I was an assistant manager at about 19 of a disability house. That was a massive learning curve for me. I should never have been made assistant manager. I don't think. I did not have the skills for it, but it was really good. That, I think, taught me a lot. Managing other people teaches you a lot. I think it teaches you a lot about yourself. Growing up that fast in the workplace, but I needed a paycheck, so I had no choice, and I'm very good at compartmentalizing, so I can just focus on what I need to do and not think about, the world around me in that sense.
So with your dyslexia, did you find that there were lots of challenges for you, or did you create, it sounds like considering where you are today, you've got amazing strategies.
Look, I didn't know until really meeting with you, to be fair, when we met up in Melbourne, about the strategies that I had put in place for myself, because to me it was just about survival. It's always been about survival for me. The strategies, obviously forms is a really, really terrible thing, and I never get it right. My dyslexia is very focused on spelling, pronunciation, words, English, reading, and I guess I didn't know that I was putting strategies in place. So reading, for example, like on my Kindle, I have like the placement and I've set certain things. I do the same on my computer. I'm still really bad at sometimes the strategies. I don't know if you do this actually. This is probably, I don't know if it's ADHD or if it's dyslexia, to be honest, because sometimes they merge into one for me. But do you notice that when people ask you to do 3 or ask you 3 questions, you only respond to 1? I do that so often. So that's something I actually had a meeting about this morning. It was some feedback that I've got to really focus on. But little strategies like that really help. So I probably need more strategies.
I was just nodding and no one could hear that I was saying yes to you. Do you know it's because our working memory has challenges in retaining instructions. So the fact that you can only retain 1 is very normal for us. I was doing I don't know if it was training, but they talked about a tool. If you think of a table with all the tools on it, now that word's gone out of my head, a tool table. If you think of a table and it's full of stuff, for someone that doesn't have dyslexia, they can manage all that stuff that's on the table. But if you think of the way that we manage things, we've got a smaller space.
Yeah.
So our ability to retain information is smaller, and so that makes it harder for us. But there are strategies out there that can help.
Yeah, I mean, I regularly see a psychologist, whether it's for strategies on dyslexia or strategies on ADHD or just general mental health. And, I've been seeing regularly a psychologist since my daughter was 1. And it actually helps to just talk it out. But also for somebody to tell you that that's completely normal, is just so helpful. I struggle a lot, and people probably wouldn't pick up that I struggle. Again, this is the first time I'm even talking about dyslexia. People know at work that I have dyslexia, but I've never gone public about it. It's really hard to maintain those strategies too, because you're tired. you're tired of it. I mean, I'm 35 and I've been doing this for a very long time, and you just sometimes go, I just wish my brain worked like a normal person. Like, do you ever just, at the end of the day, go, oh, just why is it so difficult? Why me?
Yes, there are many days I go into my husband's office, bedroom, our spare bedroom, say to him, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I be like you? Just go to a normal job, just be a normal person. And I constantly am saying, why can't I just have a different brain sometimes?
Yeah, I also think it's a bit of a superpower. I don't think I would be where I am today. I don't think I would be who I am today. I'm a very strong person. I've been through a lot, and I don't think that I would have been able to manage that if I didn't have so many struggles. I wouldn't be who I am today without it. It doesn't define me. I'm not going to say that my dyslexia or ADHD defines me at all, because it does not. I never let it really define who I am, but it is just a part of me that I manage. So
it's really interesting you say that, because language is so important, and we see a lot from the autistic community that identity first of embracing their autism as part of their identity. And I feel that when I speak to a lot of dyslexics, it's kind of we compartmentalize it. Like, that's our dyslexia or ADHD, and then that's what this bit of me, but it's not our identity first. Does that make sense? You would hear this in the disability sector.
Yeah, I also think for me, I was bullied quite heavily in school over it. Everybody, and even teachers. Like, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, and teachers, like, I remember teachers calling me stupid. Like, obviously no teacher would ever call a student stupid now. Well, I would hope not. But I remember being so heavily, like, teachers not understanding me, calling me stupid. I'm never going to be anything. I'm never going to do anything. You don't have a very high IQ. I do have a very high IQ. Well, not high, but I'm all right. But then that became my identity. And then I think I had very, very low self-esteem until I decided that that's not me, and I am actually quite smart. But I think there's a misconception that people with dyslexia are dumb. And that's something that up until 15, up until this one teacher said, well, no, you're not stupid. And it took one person to tell me I wasn't stupid. And I was like, okay, I'm not stupid. But that was my identity for a long time, that I was dumb when I wasn't.
And there's not a lot of research in Australia that looks at the impact of educational trauma that we carry through into adulthood and those labels.
That's probably why I haven't gone to uni yet.
Well, yeah. And it's really interesting, because a lot of the research we've done, people have gone through to TAFE or university, but they've faced adverse trauma in school. And you think, what is that driving force that keeps us going? Because, the resilience and the perseverance, dog-headedness, is that a term?
Dog-headed? I don't know. I'm really bad with that.
Where we're so persistent. I have to find the term now. And I don't know if it's a dyslexic trait or whether it's just we've been told we can't so often that we just build this armor that says, no, we are. I was going to swear, but.
I swear, but you really don't do that on your podcast.
Sometimes. Basically, fuck you is what we do.
I have a lot of people that have underestimated me, and I love to say fuck you, because I will not be underestimated anymore. I think that's more my persona now. That's my identity, that I will not be underestimated.
And that's such a powerful identity, but that trauma is really hard to shake. And so we're always talking about the importance of psychologists. And as you were speaking, I was like, I really need to re-engage with mine, because, it's right. Just to have someone validate, someone external from everyone that you can talk to about, because, co-occurring mental health is significant within our community.
It is. Yeah. And I haven't been very active in the dyslexia community, not because I'm hiding it or not because of anything. It's just, like I said, I never let it define me, but I'm getting a lot better at it. I'm getting a lot more vocal. I mean, everybody at work knows, and they know how to work with me, and, they know not to ask me 3 questions, or they know how I retain information. So I'm getting a lot better. This is probably a good segue into what I do, but we are a very inclusive employer, but I have worked for some very large disability organisations that I wouldn't even feel comfortable telling them that I had dyslexia, and I didn't. So, I've been very open about it here because I was comfortable, but there are employers that I absolutely would never have said anything to, and I didn't. So, yeah.
There's two things out of that. But the first one is, at the beginning when I said I was so honoured to talk to you, because we don't see at the moment a lot of female leaders talking about their dyslexia. We have a handful I could name, like Mel Webster from ADHD Australia. But, how many female leaders can we name that we know of that have dyslexia? We're just, people are not coming out yet because they don't feel safe. And it's interesting where some of the sectors where you think would be the safest, like the disability sector or the mental health area or allied health, healthcare might be some of the safest, and sometimes they are some of the least safe environments to be able to disclose and to access the help that we need because of all of those labels and the misunderstanding currently around dyslexia.
Well, there's just not enough information out there, and you do really well in getting a lot of information out there. And I think there's a lot of stigma around dyslexia as well. I mean, me not going public about it I don't know what my fear was about going public. I mean, even when you emailed me a few days ago, I said, I don't even know if I'm willing to talk about it.
At Rethink Dyslexia, we are doing things differently. As a global leader in creating inclusive environments for adults with dyslexia, our commitment is to provide individuals with opportunities to live healthier, happier, and more connected lives. Through our range of tailored services, including coaching, learning and development programs, consultancy, and training, we're helping dyslexic individuals, businesses, and organisations to better understand and support their dyslexic employees. So if you're looking for insights, inspiration, and expert advice on dyslexia and how you can provide inclusive practices and environments, then head to rethinkdyslexia.com to find out more, or book your free consultation today.
I actually spoke to my colleagues before I came on the podcast, and I said, okay, I was tossing and turning last night because I was like, do I just do it? Do I just own it? And I'm a very bubbly out there person and I don't hold much back, but it's really hard, I think, to go public. But I think if more people did it, I don't think many people would be as scared. I don't think that, going public or having this discussion with you and me, I will promote, this conversation, but I just don't think I'll get any backlash. If anything, I think I'll be very much embraced. I know a lot of people within the disability space that I used to work with are going to be like, oh, well, that explains a lot, but also I can't believe you didn't feel comfortable. But I don't think employers really understand it, and they don't understand that there's support and, like that. But even in the disability space, leadership in the disability space, one, as a woman, it's hard enough when you're a woman to be as a successful leader. And I'm talking leadership, I'm not talking management, because I think that there's a very big difference between leadership and management. But it's very hard enough as a woman to do that, and then to have that stigma as well was also very scary. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people don't come forward.
I just can't thank you enough for sharing with us, because, we do need more people, but it's really hard. I don't even think I put that I was dyslexic or dysgraphic on. I don't even have it on LinkedIn, I don't think. I use the term lived experience. I mean, it's pretty evident now after all these years of what I do.
And your podcast.
I don't think I ever explicitly said it until maybe the last couple of years, where I've just used the term lived experience instead. But yes, I talk about when we do training, I don't tick the box that I have a disability. I don't disclose until I've gone through probation. Again, it's a bit harder now because I'm everywhere. But yeah, hopefully I don't have to apply for another job, but you never know.
You never know. I mean, even if, I know it is a disability, but I still don't tick the box. Yeah, it's a tricky one. But you know what my ideal world is? That just nobody gives a shit. Who cares if you have a disability? Take that, do you have a disability off? Take it off all forms, and it should just say, how can we help you in your role? what do you need to be successful in your role? Take it off. And that is my ideal world, and I will push for that world.
Yes, it's about universal design, isn't it? And that if we are able to create an even playing field where the tools are just there, whether it's Grammarly or the flexibility to work from home or, whatever that may be, English is your second language, like there's multiple things that we can be doing that are applicable to everyone, not just someone that has a disability, then, that is our utopia, isn't it? Like my husband says, why do you have to, pull everyone apart, and I don't want to be neurotypical and, all these people who are neurodivergent. He's like, why can't we just be human? I said, yeah, that's what we want.
That's what we're fighting
for.
That's
what we're fighting for.
Andrea, our CEO, and we often, attend disability employment things and stuff like that. And like, we just look at each other and say, you know what, how great would it be if we just had an employment conference? How about we just have an employment conference? Like we're a long way off. We've made significant changes, but there's just a long way off. To really have an inclusive world, people make, adjustments for people in the workplace for such things like, I've got a sore back. Okay, well, you need a stand desk. Okay. Or, somebody has low vision glasses, for example, they have bigger keyboards. There is so many adjustments that people make. Working from home is an adjustment for parents that have children. Why can't people with disabilities adjustments just be adjustments in a workplace? Like, it's just, anyway. We'll get there one day. I'm hopeful before I die or before I'm 100, I will literally have my granddaughter or my daughter applying for a job and that tick box is no longer there. Do you have a disability? It's just, what can we help you with to get the most out of you? Well, that's what I'm hoping.
I'm 10 years older than you, so I might not see it in my time, but you might see it in yours. I can only hope that my daughter, who has a lot of ADHD tendencies, and everyone says stop diagnosing and stop reading into it, I hope that. And for my nephews, like it's, I always say it started with me wanting to change the world for me because the world wouldn't accept me. But now it's about how do you break that intergenerational trauma, intergenerational everything that comes with having a neurodivergent family so that my daughter doesn't have to go through what I went through. And the same with you,
Yeah, my daughter's a little bit different. Can you imagine a miniature version of me? Because I'm telling you now, it's a very scary thing. I mean, she got me real good yesterday with her sass. I was like, oh, okay. And she was right, but not the point. Not the point. Like she came home one day and she was really, really upset. And I think this was a good 4 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And she came home and she's like, she swore, she was like, these asshole kids they were picking on somebody because they have a disability, like from the special needs unit. And I said, well, don't use special needs unit. It's the support class. There's your first mistake. And I just said to her, like, I had to have the really tough conversation with her to say, not everybody is like you. Not everybody has been around disability as much as you have. And instead of getting mad at that kid, and I was pretty mad at the kid myself, but instead of getting mad at that child, it's about education. They don't know better. And you need to teach that. You can't just expect people to know what you know because you've been around it so much. People don't have the same upbringings. And that started a conversation that I was never expecting to have, but it's really about education. And I think schools is a great place to start, especially a primary school, because she was so mad. She could not understand why somebody was treating somebody like that. Why is he picking on that person because they're different, because they have a disability? They can do anything. And I've got this note that she left me once saying, I want to be you when I grow up because you changed the world. And that, I can't remember exactly what the note says, but it's like literally on my desk. And it was like, she didn't understand why people were different. And she said that you just treat everybody exactly the same. So that was a really good moment for me, I think. And she actually presented that at school. And I was like, I didn't know until she came home that day. And I was like,
it starts at home, doesn't it?
It starts at home.
It starts at home.
1 in 5 people have a disability. So it's going to start to really affect everybody.
Well, that's right. And whether it's an aging population or we're seeing the prevalence rates of neurodivergence like increasing at the moment with improved assessments and a better understanding, particularly for girls and women, around how it impacts us differently. So everyone knows someone. And so it does start from home around how we start to educate people. But it is hard. Advocacy is hard work and it's long.
I'm exhausted. I don't know about you, but it's exhausting. Like every day advocating. I mean, the NDIS reforms at the moment and advocating for people to get the right amount of funding, it's exhausting. Yeah, it is exhausting, but I think, it's for the right cause.
And so with your work you do now and the amazing journey you've gone through to get to where you are, what do you think some of the key learnings have been in this role around inclusion, and how do you think the hospitality, like once someone transitions into the workforce and they've gone through your program, what has the response been from the hospitality sector?
Amazing. The hospitality sector, I have to say, is amazing. The hotels that we work with, the HR directors that we work with, the GMs that we work with, the managers that we work with, even the people on the ground that we work with, their appetite for hiring people with a disability is unbelievable. At some point we had more jobs available in the Sydney CBD than we did have graduates, which I think says something to, one, what we do and how we actually support them to actually hire somebody with a disability. But a big thing is that it's a changing sector, the hospitality space. It's very, inclusive in its own right. Like you have, people with second language. I mean, even when it was my first job, hospitality. So I just think that as a sector, it's way more accepted than I would say other industries. But the appetite alone from the hospitality space has been incredible. It's unbelievable. We've got this afternoon one of our GMs that we work with coming up, and we have one of the HR directors for a call coming up. The thing about Hotel Etico is you can come here and experience it, it's real world. We're a fully functioning hotel. We have a 160-seat restaurant. We function, and where people can come and experience it and see the systemic change, it makes it a lot easier for us to then create that change, which has been really, really helpful. There is no reason why Australia can't lead the change for inclusion in the hospitality space. Absolutely.
I'm so excited, again, the word excited.
For the training that you guys are creating together. So, for example, I think I just want to explain this a little bit more. So we offer employer training. So our partnership, we do a lot of training with our hotels and big hotel chains and so on. But the appetite for them to want more training. So, I mean, we often get told that the training that we hold within the hotels is the highest attended training. We once had literally all of the front attendants, guest attendants wanted to do it, and they didn't have anybody to work the desk. That's how much it's accepted, our training. And we wanted to offer our employers a more specific training. So, for example, we partner with obviously you, Autism Australia, and also Down Syndrome Australia. And we don't pretend that we know everything. We don't. So why not get you in and create that together to make it more hospitality focused? Because the thing that they want is it needs to be hospitality specific, right? Because we're teaching in hospitality, and a lot of the training that's out there is very generalized. But to be able to tailor something together and offer it together and co-brand together, the thing with Hotel Etico is we don't pretend that we know everything. We will partner with organizations. For example, All Things Equal in Melbourne. We have a great relationship with them, and they train in hospitality. It's not competitive. I mean, sure, it's competitive, but it's not competitive. We're not competing. You and I aren't competing, so why not collaborate and bring the best for our employers? That's what's going to make our partnership amazing.
And that's what changes the world. It's through partnerships and building these things together that you're not just feeling like you're on your own advocating. When you can partner and work together, things happen so much faster and change can really occur. And that's the exciting thing about it. Exciting.
I know. Stay tuned, everybody. It's coming. And if you are a hospitality employer that wants it, get in quick.
Yes, getting quick. And I think that is a really good segue to us finishing our conversation on vulnerability, because I really do appreciate, and when I actually said to you, can we do the podcast, I had no idea that you had not spoken publicly about it before. I just assumed, because of the way you present so amazingly and so confident and so knowledgeable, I was just like, oh, she must talk about it all the time. So
I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. Look, I present as an extrovert. I present very confident, but what goes on inside me is very different, what the world sees. And I will never shine away from being vulnerable. I can be vulnerable. It's just, I'm an introvert. I really am. I'm an introvert. I like to be in my own space. I like to be around people. But if you were to see me in my job, and I think it's because I love my job so much that it doesn't bother me to be an extrovert. I'm very much an extrovert at work. But I think it's the years and years of trauma of just people telling me how shit I am. Like, you say that you have dyslexia and somebody thinks you're stupid. Like, stupid for me is a trigger word. Nobody can call me stupid. Like, even if they're just joking, it's a big trigger for me. So, yeah, it's really hard to be vulnerable, but I'm more than happy to. And you make it so easy to be comfortable and vulnerable.
Oh, well, thank you. It helps. It can help if you don't have any questions and just go with the flow.
That's you and I to a T, right? Let's just go with the flow.
But, I'm really, really appreciative, and I really hope that those that are listening, that this resonates with you, whether you haven't come out or whether you have, whether you're in the hospitality or disability industry or not. I think, the opportunity to have more voices like yours that are in leadership roles, sharing your journey, because everyone's journey is so different, and everyone that I know carries some type of trauma from particularly education or childhood that's neurodivergent or dyslexic, and we don't talk about it a lot.
We don't, because it's painful. It's really, really painful. I mean, I try not to let it define who I am, because it's not who I am. It's just what helped me become who I am. It's really hard to be vulnerable. It is, but I agree, more people should talk about it, more women should talk about it. I mean, my ADHD diagnosis is so recent that, I'm surprised it is so recent. Like, I should have picked it up on years ago, and I probably knew, but it's so recent. Like, I'm talking maybe 4 weeks, 2 months, that it's so fresh. I haven't even grasped with what it actually means, to be honest. I mean, I'll get there. Talk to me in 6 months' time and see what strategies I have in place for that.
Yes, well, we can bring you back on the show, because I haven't spoken a lot about my assessment journey yet for my ADHD. And when my doctor said to me, yes, you do, it's like, how do you feel? I said, it just makes a lot of sense. Where when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, my whole life fell apart.
Really?
But now it's just like, yes, yeah.
You and I have that conversation one time or another, because I really want to hear that story.
Well, I talk about it when we run training, but yeah, for me, that's when it all fell apart. But with the ADHD, it's just like, now I know why I can do like lots of things that other people can't, and I don't have to feel embarrassed about that anymore, because I used to feel really ashamed when I would say, I'm studying, I've got a daughter, I do podcasts, I run a business, I work in another job, and people would look at me and go, what's going on with you? And I was always like, I don't want to talk to people about what I do because it seems abnormal. And now I know why it seems abnormal to other people, because they actually don't do things like me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too, because the way I work, and like, I'm always, I don't know if you call it controlled chaos. Like, I work so well under pressure. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm better with deadlines when I'm under pressure. I'm better with chaos. I think maybe that's why I'm in hospitality, right? I can juggle 1,000,000 things and disability at once, and I thrive under it. Like, I am my best self under pressure and under chaos. And it's interesting. I always thought that everybody was like that. I'm coming to learn that people are not like that, and they need organizational and structure. Not me. Probably should, but I thrive and I work better. But I just assumed everybody thrived under pressure, but people crumble. And when I was talking to my colleagues earlier about that, they're saying it is your superpower because you can thrive under pressure. You can be so stressed, or you can have, fires behind you, but you can hold it together, and a lot of people can't do that. I didn't realize that a lot of people can't do that. So like I'm in the SES, emergency services, and I've been through quite a few. Like I live in the Hawkesbury Nepean area, so a lot of floods, a lot of flood rescues, and for me, I thrive under that chaos, like, you know, going lights and sirens to a flood rescue to save somebody, or multiple flood rescues at once. I'm actually able to prioritize and to make it to that one and know what's going on and know that there's somebody over there drowning and then there's somebody over there drowning, and you can just do both. Like it's kind of, I don't think I'd be able to do that if I didn't have ADHD. So it makes a lot of sense.
Well, we could do a whole other podcast on ADHD.
When I figure it out, I'll let you know.
When we've both finished our journey.
Yeah. Well, you're going down the assessment path, and I've decided that that's not for me. So I will be very interested to hear your journey.
Yes, I will let you know. But thank you so much for coming on the show and for talking so honestly about your journey. I really do appreciate and value you and your time and your generosity in being so open about it. So thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to it going live. I promise I'll promote it. I'm not going to hide it either. I'm not going to hide my dyslexia anymore. There we go.
There we go. Maybe that could be the title of our podcast.
That's not a bad one.
If you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up to our mailing list so you can keep up to date with everything we are doing at Rethink Dyslexia. So head to rethinkdyslexia.com.au. And don't forget, if there's anything you heard today that was distressing, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 46 36. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.
Oh, yeah.